Yeah, Mr. Whitaker has a lot of explaining to do. I presented to him, along with all the other council members, my detailed analysis of why the city, for some reason, decided to make a change in how we were dealing with the lease arrangement with American Golf and change it to a management agreement. And as a result, I analyzed the fact that it will be costing the city $4 to $5 million over 20 years in reduced revenues, which is really like net income for the city, which means that it has to be made up by the taxpayers or it's a deficit. That's a lot of money over 20 years. Mr. Whitaker never, ever spoke to me about that, even though I contacted him.
And yet you were his appointee to the commission.
And I was his appointee. But yet...
And you have a financial background, and there's
Absolutely.
a reason why you're on this commission.
Right. But yet when Mr. Curley was talking about the Brea Dam, Mr. Whitaker, as council member, brought up or talked about a $400, one or two $400 hotel bills that apparently the police department used for some conference. Now, I'm not here to justify a $400 hotel bill, but what's more important, a $4 or $5 million shortfall caused by actions by the city, or one hotel bill that maybe should have been a slightly less? $100 or $4 or $5 million, and yet he chose to talk about that and never, ever. Not only didn't he never talk to me about it, but never brought it up at council.
So let me get this straight.
Things like that which started making me realize that he was not the real deal.
You presented him with documented information with numbers that are legitimate. Mm-hmm. And has he responded to you in writing whatsoever?
No, not in any way. Writing.
Okay, let me repeat this
verbally.
question. You were his appointee on the Parks and Rec Commission.
Correct.
For almost 5 years. Mm-hmm. And you uncovered, with the assistance of Mr. Curley's work, you went a little deeper and drilled down and found this egregious shortfall to the taxpayers. So you analyzed this, put it into a spreadsheet, and presented this to Mr. Whitaker in what form? Email? Did you hand him the documents? Are we sure Mr. Whitaker is in receipt of those documents?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so what has he done with that information?
I have no idea whether he even looked at it, because he never got back to me, never asked me a question.
And when did you provide him with this information?
Oh, this is going back probably now 6 to 8 weeks.
So 6 to 8 weeks, and you haven't heard from him, and I haven't heard him speak a peep about this at the city council meetings.
No.
So there's absolutely no conversation, no recollection, no announcement, no publicizing, no nothing about this issue.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
So how do you explain
but
that?
after this, he was concerned about a $400 hotel bill. That was Mr. Curley uncovered.
You know, Mr. Levinson, it's bad enough when a citizen brings an issue to a council member and they don't respond. But then it's even more egregious when an appointee to a commission appointed by that council member brings a serious documented issue of what could be considered malfeasance to a public official, an elected representative, and yet there is no response? That doesn't make any sense.
But I think what caused Mr. Whitaker to act was the fact that I started connecting the DCSP terrible proposed item and pointing out that Ms. Fitzgerald was saying that there was nothing to the fact that Polly's was going to be switched to high-rise apartments. She was saying Mr. Bennett, her friend and confidant, was saying the same thing at planning, when in fact, at this very same time, planning got this revised DCSP, which was pointing out the shopping center of Polly's Pies, which was only one of 6 pieces of property.
Yeah, I saw that.
One of 6
there was
that
a
was
public
going
notice.
to have that,
Yes.
going to have that changeover in zoning.
So I don't know what Fitzgerald was talking about, but it certainly seems like they're all working in cahoots to conceal everything from the public.
There's nothing to it, but the city at the same time is pushing for it.
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
Well, I think there's a lot of things that need some explaining, Barry. And, I think what happened today to you, a longstanding member of this commission, is pretty deplorable, to say the least. And I think Mr. Whitaker is going to have to answer some questions publicly for what he's done. And I think it's time to take him to task to answer for all the things that he has not answered to. And enough of his diatribes and pontification at these council meetings. We need some results, or we need to remove everybody. Because quite frankly, Fullerton's for sale, and Fullerton's in harm's way. We've got dead trees, we've got cell towers going up everywhere, we're out of money, we got police coming to commission meetings trying to shake down public speakers.
And one other thing, explain to me how without any talking among themselves, because that would be if more than two council members talk, that'd be a Brown Act violation. How did they vote 5-0 for the absolute worst map?
You're referring to the redistricting.
The 8A map, which basically makes downtown residents non-existent by breaking it up into 5 different neighborhoods, because it was pushed by some sleazy bar owner
who was seen in photographs partying with the mayor.
Yes, I've
so
seen
we
those
have
photographs.
Jen Kurt Fitzpringle partying at the Slime Bar.
Mm-hmm.
That den of debauchery and eardrum popping music with the satanic vibe to it, that happened to be the place where the hit on Kelly was ordered in the parking lot. To now, we have all 5 of the council members voting, ignoring the process that went on for months, if not years. I believe this map 8A that they were pushing was not even one on the table in all of these proceedings.
No, it wasn't.
From my studying of all of the options. So how do you explain the behavior of all 5 of these people turning their backs on the public in this case? Well, it obviously is the developers,
the comments by the council members was they're all pretty much the same. They're all good maps, and a lot of them I can vote for this one, or I can vote for that one. There's 2 or 3 4 that I can vote for. So how the heck did they all come up without talking about it before, and all come up voting for the same thing if they all thought most of them were terrific?
And this map that they all voted for that thought was terrific wasn't even on the table, and did not get the community review that all the other ones did, and flew in the face of the community members that were present for months working on this thing.
And most of the high-rise development areas are in and around the downtown area, because that's where the main thoroughfares are.
So this is a developer's map.
So this is a developer's map, because there's not going to be one council member who have to answer to all those people, because they're broken up into 5 different, they're piece by piece. So they're a small minority in every district, so therefore their neighborhood does not count.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Well, Mr. Levinson, it's been quite an evening, and there's been plenty of those over the years here in Fullerton. And I can assure you that your efforts are not going to go unnoticed for the selfless dedication you've had to this community. Because I can assure you, there's very few people that have put in as much time or effort that you have, and in the interests of the residents and the public at large. You're probably one of the few people. I remember seeing your campaign sign years back, Levinson and Full Reform. Mr. Levinson, you truly embody that statement. And if this is a badge of honor that you had to wear tonight, then so be it. And I want to continue to encourage you for being extremely effective in having more influence on Fullerton city government's policies and the direction of things that go on in this town than the people on the council themselves. And I really want to thank you for all that.
Well, I appreciate that. And the truth of the matter is, until we have a majority in council that really cares about the people of Fullerton, every citizen has the opportunity to go forward and go to these meetings and make a difference. Because until we have a majority, that's the only way we can impact what they do.
And so what we have right now is nowhere near a majority, and it sounds like every single one of these city council members needs to be voted out of office.
Unfortunately, as it really, really hurts me to realize that we really don't have one person on that council that we can truly count on.
In closing, Mr. Levinson, if you had some words to say to Mr. Whitaker, what would they be?
I would say, Councilman Whitaker, you've been on the council now for approaching 6 years. You had a golden opportunity to make a difference. You voted for fireworks. You made that your #1 priority. And guess what? You told me that was something that was suggested by Sean Nelson. Well, that certainly screwed up everything, didn't it? We have fireworks and nothing else. Nothing else you've accomplished. You've never spoken out against some of your phony council members. You refused to do so, and I didn't refuse, and I started pointing out, and I stopped pretty much single-handedly the DCSP 2 years ago by calling an undemocratic power grab by Mr. Feltz. And then I was in the process of stopping, and have stopped so far, the revised one, and then pointed out the phoniness of Mr. Bennett and Mayor Fitzgerald. And the next morning, after I mentioned something about Mr. Bennett, I'm gone. You connect the dots.
Mr. Levinson, we really want to thank you for your commitment to this community, and we're absolutely certain that it's far from over at this point. And I'm sure that the residents of Fullerton can look forward to you serving behind the scenes, out in public, for many years to come, as I will as well, because quite frankly, the people here deserve it. Thank you.
You're welcome.